Hey everyone, welcome to EDU 5105. My name is Rachel Grant and I'm going to be your professor for this course. And I'm really thrilled to be teaching this course because the whole area of interprofessional education and interprofessional collaboration is why I went into research. Like many of you, I opted for a course-based master's degree because I wasn't really interested in doing a thesis. I didn't have a lot of, but I really didn't have any interest in research at the time. And then I took my IPE course in my Master of Nursing, and I just found the whole topic really interesting. There was all of these theories that explained things that I had seen as a nurse, and I had this whole new set of vocabulary that I could take to the Ottawa, or I guess at that time it was Ryerson Library, to look up things that I had questions about and things that I had seen in my professional practice. And what got me into research is the fact that I went to the literature trying to look up all these different things, and I found that a lot of my questions didn't have answers yet because no one had done the research yet. So after the completion of my course, I approached my professor, Dr. Joanne Goldman, and asked her if I could do my final practicum placement with her, doing something related to interprofessional education or collaboration. And I ended up doing a research-based practicum placement with her at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto. And I've ended up doing my capstone project there on a scoping review looking at the peer-reviewed Canadian nursing literature. And I got to publish that in the Journal of Interprofessional Care, which was very cool. And I subsequently got hired there where I worked as a research associate. And I have been working in research now for about 8 years, I would say. And I've been teaching in higher ed for longer than that, over a decade, I think 12 years, something like that. And prior to moving to Ottawa, I also used to volunteer as a workshop facilitator at U of T's Centre for Interprofessional Education. So needless to say, I'm a little bit of an IPE nerd, so I'm very excited to be talking about interprofessional education and practice with you this semester. So in this video, I wanted to walk you through what's in our syllabus. And this video isn't meant to be a replacement for reading the syllabus. I am going to gloss over some things that are in it, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what's contained in our syllabus and bring your attention to a few important points. And I'm going to divide my syllabus overview into 2 separate videos. So in this one, I'm going to talk more about policies, readings, basically everything except for the assignments and rubrics, which I am going to cover in part 2. So without further ado, so if you open up the syllabus, the first thing you'll see there is the course name and my contact information. Please do just call me Rachel, and I am a part-time assistant professor here at the Faculty of Education, University of Ottawa, and I am also a 6th-year PhD candidate in the Health Professions Education stream. And as you may have guessed from my little intro there about how I got into research, my background is in nursing. And I worked in obstetrics and family medicine back when I was living in British Columbia. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. If you ever want to have a synchronous chat, I also have Skype, Zoom, I have Teams, Discord. So if you ever want a video conference, we can absolutely do that. And please do reach out to me if you ever want to chat, whether it be about questions about the class, assignments, or if you just want to bounce some ideas off of me for your projects. And this semester we are joined by our fantastic TA, Holly Adam. Holly is a PhD student here at the Faculty of Education, and she recently completed her Master's of Arts in Health Professions Education, so congratulations, Holly. And Holly will also be teaching Module 4 this semester, which is on patient involvement in interprofessional education. So a few important notes about our course. So EDU 5101 is offered asynchronously through Brightspace. So this means that we won't have a scheduled class time. All of my video lectures and things will be pre-recorded so you can watch them at your convenience. But we have worked in a few opportunities for you to meet synchronously in small group work. If that's what your group would choose to do, you can also meet asynchronously. It'll be up to you. And we don't have a required textbook for this course. Everything we read this semester is going to be available for free online through the U Ottawa Library. However, I do recommend picking up a copy of the APA manual or bookmarking some good websites on APA. So the course learning objectives. So if you scroll down a little farther here in the syllabus, you can see our objectives for the course. So upon successful completion of this course, you should be able to identify and analyze issues relevant to the development and delivery of interprofessional education and practice for collaborative patient or client-centered practice. demonstrate a developed understanding of different discourses and theories, such as learning theories, more sociological theories, related to working and learning in an interprofessional manner. You should also be able to analyze and critique empirical and scholarly literature related to interprofessional education and practice within your professional context. In collaborative multiliteracy circles, interpret, critically analyze, and thoughtfully discuss scholarly literature and other resources, such as websites and videos, relevant to interprofessional education and practice. And you should be able to critically reflect on your professional practice and values in relation to current thinking about interprofessional education and practice. So how are we actually going to accomplish all of this? One of the big ways you're going to be doing this is going to be through the Multiliteracy Circle work that we're doing. And I have another video that provides a lot more detail on this process. You are also going to be writing a commentary in response to an article that I have shared. And you're going to be doing a culminating project where you're going to be exploring an issue of your choosing related to interprofessional education, collaboration, or teamwork. And you'll be sharing these projects with your peers in our virtual class conference at the end of the course. But more on all the assignments later. So at the beginning of the syllabus, I also list off some of these student support services that are here to help you at U Ottawa. Please take some time to review these. There are a few that I just wanted to draw your attention to, namely librarians and the Indigenous Resource Center. So the librarians are the unsung and completely underutilized heroes here at the university. A lot of students don't realize that the librarians are here to help you, and the Faculty of Education even has its own librarian. So check out page 4 on our syllabus for more details. I also want to draw your attention to our Indigenous Resource Center. And the Indigenous Resource Center is a fantastic resource. So they work with the university to develop initiatives supporting First Nations, Inuit, and Métis students. They also have resources and services for these students. However, they are also a fantastic resource for non-Indigenous students who want to learn more about Indigenous issues. So in my experience as a learner and as an educator, they really enjoy seeing Indigenous issues and educational perspectives being brought into the mainstream curriculum. And I've consulted with them before on my own projects before. They even came to one of my classes where I was part of a group project presentation where we were talking about Indigenous feminism. And I've also had some of my students go there to consult on their projects, for example, on the history of the residential schools, and they were always very welcoming. In our syllabus, I also list out some important policies at the university. I'm not going to read out all of these, but I'm going to take a few moments here just to highlight a few of these. So the first one is attendance. So attendance is compulsory in our faculty, but how do we do this in an online course, especially in a synchronous one like this one? Well, there's a few ways we do this. So instead of having traditional classes, we're going to be doing online activities. So for the first few weeks, this is going to be more traditional Brightspace discussion board activities. And then after this, you're going to be doing group discussions in multiliteracy circles. And your participation here is going to be captured in the MLC portfolio you're going to be keeping, as well as a self and peer evaluation that you're going to be doing at the end. I can also see your participation by taking a look at some of the Brightspace stats that I have access to. So I can see things like login frequency, whether you've opened discussion posts. So if you're not participating, I will know. But I usually don't look into this unless I'm concerned about your participation in the course. So a bit of advice as someone who has taken a lot of online courses themselves as a student. My biggest piece of advice would be don't leave your online courses till the last day of the module and then just try and blast through everything in an evening. You're not going to learn a whole lot this way and take much from the course. And this will also impact the learning of your group members. And I believe that the interaction that we have with our peers in courses like this is really key to our own learning. And as those of you who have taken courses from me previously know, I am a big fan of learning theories that acknowledge the importance of social factors in learning. Plus, this is just a really stressful approach to doing your online coursework, so I really don't recommend it. What I do recommend is trying to log in for a few minutes every day, maybe 15 minutes or so at night, depends on your schedule. So you might pop into, say, your portfolio in the evening and jot down a few notes, things that you've been thinking about throughout the day, and you can return to it later when you have more time during the week, such as over the weekend. So you really just have to find what works for you, but I do recommend keeping on top of this as we go through the semester. The next policy is late assignments. So the faculty does have a late policy, so they penalize assignments that are late 5% per day to a maximum of 10 days, unless there's a documented medical or compassionate grounds. that is sufficient to us to overlook the late penalty. I'm really not a fan of deducting late marks for late papers and assignments because I think assessment and feedback and grades should all reflect your learning. And I know you're all adults, you're all busy, and sometimes life just happens, especially during a pandemic. So if you ever need an extension on anything, just email me. Even if it's the night before, we can work something out. That being said, I do have to have your assignments all submitted before I'm required to submit my final marks to the faculty. I believe that's usually 10 days after the last day of our course we have to get those in. There are ways around this if there are exceptional circumstances, such as illness, but at this point we need to talk to the powers that be within the Faculty of Education, so it's not completely my call, but just so you know, this is possible. So if you need help or you need more time on assignments, all you have to do is reach out to me. The next policy I wanted to draw your attention to is the accommodation of people with exceptionalities. So please let me know if you need any sort of accommodation, regardless of whether or not you're registered with SAS. In the past, I have had learners who are not registered with SAS, but they still needed accommodation, which I'm more than happy to provide as long as it's an accommodation that I have the capacity to provide. For example, I need SAS for things like providing readings in Braille because I don't have the capacity to do that myself. But for other things like offering closed captioning on videos if you need it, or giving you extra time on assignments, those are easily things I can do on my own. And note that exceptionalities doesn't include just things like learning disabilities. It can also include medical conditions, mental health issues like anxiety. So do let me know if there's any way that I can support your learning. And I don't require doctor's notes or anything like that. If you say you need accommodation, I'll take your word for it. And then fourth is the policy on academic integrity and fraud. So this one can be basically summarized as please don't plagiarize. If you're unfamiliar with how to cite things appropriately or how to use APA, just reach out to me and I can send you some resources. And I do have a video already posted where I talk about some of the common APA issues I tend to see in a lot of learners' papers, and I talk about how you can address them. And I can do more videos like that if it is of interest to the class. I've also had students plagiarize assignments before because of the pressure to just get an assignment done on time. That's probably the most common place where I see issues related to academic integrity. So please don't compromise the academic integrity of your work just for the sake of a deadline. If you need an extension, all you have to do is ask, even if it's due that night. The next part of our syllabus is the assignments. And we're going to skip that for now so I can talk about them in a little bit more detail in our next video. And I'll also talk about the grading scale then and the rubrics. So if you keep scrolling through the syllabus, after you go through the assignments, you're going to see the course schedule. And this begins on page 17 of our syllabus. So this includes all of the topics we're going to be discussing this semester, as well as our assigned readings. So here is our course schedule. And I've tried to break everything up into 2-week modules. I find that makes it a little bit more manageable to work through as a student. And it also gives you a little bit more time if something happens, like if you have a child that's sick or something's due in another class, or if you're moving or something like that. It gives you a little more flexibility. The only exception here is Module 7, which is just 3 days. But this module is really just to finalize and submit your portfolio assignment if you haven't done it already. And you'll notice that reading week falls smack in the middle of Module 4, which is our patient involvement in IPE module. It is really inconvenient, but there's not much we can do about it, and at least this semester we actually have a reading week, which we didn't over the summer. So for Module 4, we will do the first week of Module 4, we'll all take a 1-week break, and then we will reconvene on November 1st. So with that, let's just quickly talk about what we're doing this semester. So our first module is our Introduction and Creating a Learning Community module, and there's 2 parts to this. So the first part, which is this week, we're going to be focusing on getting to know one another, getting familiar with the course, and just getting ourselves generally organized for the semester. And then part 2 is an introduction to interprofessional education and practice, and we're going to be talking here about key terminology, definitions, evidence for IPE, things like that to set a nice foundation for the semester. And then following this in Module 2, we're going to be starting our Multiliteracy Circle or MLC work, where you're going to be working in discussion teams. So in Module 2, we're going to talk more about theories and discourses related to interprofessional education and practice. So this will include learning theories like community of practice and complexity science, and we're also going to talk about some sociological discourses. In Module 3, we're going to build off of the discussion we had in Module 2 to discuss barriers and conflict in interprofessional practice and education. And when I was looking over who has responded to our Getting to Know You survey thus far, almost everyone mentioned that they wanted to talk about interprofessional conflict. And quite a few people also mentioned how they wanted to talk about how different professions make different knowledge claims and what is considered to be a truth in each profession. So we're going to do a whole module just dedicated to these issues. And Dr. Angus McMurtry is going to be joining us as a guest speaker in this module as well. Then in Module 4, we are going to discuss patient involvement in interprofessional education, and our TA, Holly, is going to be teaching this module. And then in Module 5, which is our final MLC module, we're going to be talking about approaching teaching and assessment in IPE. So here we're going to be talking about considerations for planning IPE activities, such as constructive alignment between objectives, teaching strategies, and assessment, who we should be involving in designing and implementing IPE activities, etc. And then Module 6 is our final module that has a full 2-week and has activities. So in this module, we're going to be doing our class conference where we're going to be sharing our final culminating projects with one another. So there's 2 parts to this one. So in the first week, we're going to be doing a pre-conference workshop week. And during this week, you're going to be invited to share your drafts in whatever stage they're currently in with your MLC team to get some feedback from one another. And Holly and I will also be on the discussion boards during this week, so we'll be able to give you some feedback and answer questions during this time. And during the second week, you're going to be posting your projects for the rest of the class to view and comment on. And we're also going to have a class conference guide, so you're going to be able to see the titles of the projects ahead of time to help you prioritize which projects you want to take a look at. And then Module 7 is just the final few days of the course. And during this module, all you'll be doing is finalizing and submitting your portfolio if you haven't already done so. Now for our course readings, you'll notice in the syllabus that sometimes I list foundational and focused readings. So the foundational readings are your required readings, so everyone will be doing these ones. And then from the focused readings, you'll get to pick one that interests you to read. And in the focused readings, I tried to capture a variety of different contexts or perspectives. And I will be adding to the focus readings as the course progresses, once I get to know you all better and have a better idea of your interests. I also have a couple of to-be-determined readings in Module 3. Since Dr. McMurtry and I are collaborating on that week, I wanted to get some input from him on the readings as well. And then the next section of our syllabus is our bibliography on page 24. So this lists some peer-reviewed journals, websites, books that might be of use to you. I can also make recommendations for books and articles based on your own personal interests. And then following this, on page 25, I share some potentially helpful online tools, like Powtoons, sites where you can create free websites, infographics, mind maps, things like that. And I recommend holding onto this list because it could be helpful in your other courses. And I have expanded on this list since last semester, so there are some new resources on here. And that's it for part 1 of our syllabus overview. And then in part 2, I'm going to talk more about the assignments and the rubrics, UOttawa's grading scale. So get up, stretch, refill your beverage, and I will see you all back here for part 2.